All right, welcome to episode 14 of the Rainier Strength Pod. I'm here with a very special case from Canada, Mr. Shane Martin himself, who has a 2056 single ply total, 771 squat, 804 bench, and 611 deadlift. This man is a 7-time IPF world medalist and an IPF world champion with a 574 raw bench earlier this year, 2025. Shane, my man, how are you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to always have the ability to talk about bench press and powerlifting with anyone. So this is always a great opportunity.
Awesome, man. Right on. So when you got into powerlifting, was the bench press something that kind of came easy to you right away? Was that kind of a genetic, just something that really came easy, or was it something you really had to work for?
No, like when I started powerlifting, it was just equipped. And even before I got into powerlifting, I wasn't a bench presser. I wasn't even a gym goer. I played drums for a metalcore band, and we toured and got drunk for several years. So when I started going to the gym, my first time I benched, I failed 95 pounds. So like I started from like the bottom. Um, and then I obviously progressed, but I kept the focus on three lift for probably 8 years, 9 years, because I obviously just wanted to maintain the ability to power lift. But once I kind of hit my 10-year mark, then my bench started to kind of surpass my total in terms of competitiveness. Like my three lift total would get me maybe fifth at nationals. I had a couple opportunities to go to IPF Worlds, and I'd place like 10th. So like it's nice to go and it's fun for the experience, but like I know I wasn't going to get to that level. Like it just didn't like as you heard, my deadlift is horrible. Like 277.5 deadlift at 120 is nothing to write home about. So like that always hamstringed me a great deal throughout. And I just kind of like shifted gears probably around like the COVID time to just strictly do bench press because it's the one that kept progressing and it's the one like I really like. And I found that bench pressing is just not that hard on the body. So like even a hard, heavy bench session is not comparable to like heavy squats or heavy deadlifts. So just kind of giving my body a rest in the sense because I'm super competitive and I wasn't going to win a three lift nationals or worlds. It just wasn't in the cards. It's fine. It's what it is. So I just kind of closed that door for goals, and then just kind of started hyper focusing on bench.
Metalcore band, dude, that's freaking sick. So I grew up on like a lot of punk and metal myself, but as far as metalcore goes, like As I Lay Dying, Miss May I, all that kind of stuff, All That Remains. So, dude, what was it like being in a metalcore band? That's pretty sick.
Uh it was fun. Like it was I was from 16 to like 20. I was in like the scene. So we did a couple small tours in Canada. We had a distro deal with Victory Records, which was cool. And like right before we broke up, we were gonna open for Ice Nine Kills, which would have been sweet because in retrospect, Ice Nine Kills is like gigantic now. So that would have been potentially super cool. But no, it was super fun. I loved the stage. I really liked to party at that time, so that was went hand in hand. And then like yeah, metal was just really fun to play. Try to get as many blast beats as I could, but my band was a little more adverse to the blast beat. But no, I mean overall it was sick. Like yeah, our influences were like Argus Burns Red, All That Remains, Parkway Drive, like all the classic, this Kill Switch, all like just the standard metalcore like discographies kind of thing.
Yeah, dude, music's definitely one of those things that ages me really quick. We're around the same age. I'm 32. I'll be 33 here soon. And like when I start talking about some of the older bands, some of the kids in their early 20s, like, what are you talking about? Like, definitely music is one of those things that ages me really freaking quick.
Yeah.
But as far as your competitive endeavors go, man, you are a very interesting case, as I had said previously, because your raw strength is immaculate next to your equipped strength. And a lot of equipped guys that I've seen don't go back and forth as far as their competitive endeavors go, or even PRs, and you do, which is super freaking sick. Someone that I've been competing raw since 2016. I'll have my first single ply meet in December, but I
Nice.
also have aspirations similar to yours, kind of going back and forth. So, what's making you go back and forth competitively rather than just sticking with one or the other?
Well, when I started powerlifting, it was only equipped. So I did, again, about 10 years of just straight equipped training. So that was my main exposure. And then basically I kind of got stuck around the 270-ish mark in my shirt for a few years. And then I just started, and then Raw started to get really, really popular. And there was just more like competition in Raw. Like most equipped meets, you're basically like tokening gold. I mean, not anymore. I'm getting crushed by Garrett now at Nationals, but you know, my day will come again. But yeah, so I I just wanted to get I just want to get as strong as possible and master the bench press in every aspect because I basically have obsessed over bench press for the last 13 years of my life, and I wanted to get really good at both. I love equipped. I think equipped is the best version of powerlifting, handling big weights with that high degree of technical skill makes I think the sport so much more exciting and like just thrilling and rewarding. But raw is king right now. Like if you talk to a powerlifter or general population person, they're gonna ask what your raw numbers are, kind of. So I want to be respected and strong, but I don't want to be respected and strong with an asterisk. So right now, raw is raw. So I want to get as good as I can raw and as good as I can equipped. I mean, equipped are my personal goals, but raw is more of like, I guess, to like get respect in powerlifting because obviously there's still like a lot of shit talking with equipped in some kind of niches of our community, which is fine. I mean, I get it. Like I can sell you equipped, but I mean, it's going to hurt. It's going to take a long time to get really good at it, and you're going to have a lot more bad days than you're going to have good days. But when that one rep clicks, it is so much more rewarding than just putting up like 5 more kills than what you did in your raw peak 2 weeks onto the platform. Like I find raw to be a little boring in that sense, where there's no real way to manipulate and comp. Like you're either strong enough to press it or you're not. So like what I like about equipped is it kind of like levels a playing field. And that's kind of what I did with raw is I really wanted to push my raw up so then I could have a better ceiling for equipped. Like how my lifestyle is now, I don't really get in my shirt very often. So I have to like substitute that with just getting as strong as possible. So then when I get in my shirt, all that extra raw strength will allow me a wider window of error because if I'm strong enough to like have a little bit of a shitty touch or maybe my elbows kind of wiggle out of position, if I'm strong enough raw, then I can handle those corrections mid rep and still succeed. I find the bigger gap between your equipped and raw numbers are, then the more precise and smaller your groove is. So I find that the closer I can get my raw to my equipped, then that gap is shrunk, which then makes me more capable of handling those loads if something happens, or if it's just like not enough practice, but I'm strong enough to kind of like keep it in the bubble kind of thing.
I love that. And I love that you understand the foundation of raw strength. And once you combine that raw base with that technical precision and mastery of the equipment, I think you get someone like yourself, who is a freaking 7-time IPF world medalist at the top of the game of single ply. And that's a testament to your patience with the equipment, but also your understanding of where raw fits into that. And with your raw bench, you had a 574 in March of this year. Now you are on the other side of 500 now. So you're creeping closer towards 600. Is that a goal for you?
That's been my goal for the last 5 years. I've been chasing the big 600. To me, like 800 raw, like or sorry, 800 equipped was my pie in the sky. Like that's when I feel like you're a legitimate bencher when you hit that eight. And then same with six. So I'm very close to six. I'm hoping if I'm healthy and everything works out, maybe in 2 years or less, I'd be able to attempt that. But that's been a big goal of mine. One of the Canadian benchers a couple weeks ago just did it himself in a lighter weight class. Leonard, he's an absolute freak. So I wanted to be the first Canadian to do it, but he beat me and at a lighter weight. So I just gotta suck it up and chase for second again. But that's fine. But no, like 600 is that's my like lifetime goal. I feel like that's a number that would be equivalent to like a 900 squat, maybe like a 900 pull, like in the rarity, like of that sense. Well, maybe not 900 squat. Those are much more rare than 600 presses. But you know, you kind of like that pushes you into like that next level of strength, basically. So it's been on my whiteboard for a while now, and I'm edging closer. When I first thought about chasing 600, I didn't think it'd be a possibility, but the last year, especially at Worlds, 574 moved really well at Worlds. I think I had 585 then, so I feel like I'm getting really close to where I need to be in training to give that 600 a shot.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you have a freaking massive bench press. And another thing that I liked when looking at your Instagram was you highlight a lot of Canadian powerlifters, which I think is really cool. I think you carry a lot of national pride for Canada. I think that's really sick. That's something also, you guys have a IFBB pro, Ian Valliere. He also always highlighting Canadian bodybuilders and stuff like that, giving back to the Canadian athletes. Now, when you go into something like the IPF, do you feel that sense of just like national pride and carrying kind of Canada on your back with the flag going into the IPF and representing the country?
I mean, I'm proud. I'm proud and thankful to be like Canadian and go into those competitions. But I'm not like super patriotic in that sense. I think it's always an absolute honor and treat to be able to wear the flag, any flag, wherever you are. As it's a complete rarity. Like again, 15 years ago when I was playing drums and drinking Luckies, I didn't think I'd have a Canadian singlet behind me. So it's cooler where life takes you, but when those opportunities arise, especially at the world level, like you got to take them. Like I took the first couple worlds that I went to, I was basically there to participate, but that kind of gave me that edge to want to keep pushing forward, especially when you see like all the monsters around you representing their country, and like it feels like everyone's on the same page in that same moment. So it's cool to kind of share that like the uniqueness of being able to represent your country, as well as like almost kind of being an ambassador and kind of learn about different cultures, just different bench press training too, as well. So it's always a treat. Like I'm always pumped to be able to wear it, because I know one day someone's going to be way stronger than me, and I'm not going to be able to have that spot on the bench team anymore. So it's always a fleeting thing. So I especially try to take a couple moments every Worlds to just put my headphones down and just like in the middle of the attempts, just like sit down and just observe and absorb all the moment of like you're at Worlds, you're with like the people that you followed and idolized for years, and now you're like competing against them. It's always kind of surreal in that sense, especially in Equipped. Like since Equipped has been here forever, there's so many like giants of the sport that most people don't know, just because before Instagram, before Instagram, there wasn't much media for equipped pressing and equipped lifting in general. So it was like it was a niche kind of list of people to idolize. So it's cool kind of meeting them. Now most of them are older than I am, so they're just coaches and stuff. But it's still cool to be like, oh yeah, like that guy, benched 8 like 10 years ago when the shirts were crap and you just had to, I don't know, just legitimately muscle it up. Like, so yeah, that's always pretty sweet.
Yeah, there was a time in powerlifting where 800 was like the mountaintop. It was like you had Anthony Clark competing for it, who, when he did it, it got overturned or whatever afterward. But then you had like Kennelly going for it, just like everyone. And then once it hit that certain level, it just kept going up. And then it's like Mendy and Kennelly and Clark. And then Kennelly just decided to take it to the stratosphere and take it for his own for a while. It was just crazy.
Oh, well, now it's in Kolb's hands and he's just on another planet.
It's ridiculous. It doesn't matter. Yeah. That's the thing about Jimmy too, is it doesn't matter. I've said it a billion times, but it doesn't matter what you put him in. He's going to be the best. I mean, even,
did it single, did it multi, did it unlimited, like he knows how to press. Like, that's it.
Yeah, he's immaculate. But also, I wanted to talk about some of your training. It looks like you're training very methodical and whatnot. Do you use more of a conjugate, linear, block periodization, and how does your training vary for the raw versus the equipment?
So I've been working with Josh Bryant from Jailhouse Strong for the last few years. Like when I transitioned to want to focus on my raw, then I hired him. I mean, he's got a track record of 7 600 benchers. Plus, I mean, he worked with the all-time I should know his name. His name's slipping me.
Julius Maddox?
Thank you. Yeah, Julius
Yep.
Maddox. Yeah.
Yep.
So
Yep.
like, so he's got a resume that is just absolutely admirable. So I started working with him. He seems to take a little bit of some principles from the West Side and Conjugate, um, but mostly it's a very high intensity top set with a few back downs and then hammering accessory. So one thing that I really took home from working with him and still working with him today is his focus on like 8, 9, 10 RP accessories. So you're really working those dumbbell tricep extensions or the JM presses or even like lat pull downs and rows. Like you're working really hard on those. And I found that to really push my bench to the next level. Like I've always included accessories, but I've kept them at that like 7, 8 RP range. Um, and then since working with him and getting exposed to more of a higher intensity for accessories, it's really kind of pushed my training to the next level. And then I bled it out to my athletes as well. And then in terms of the equipped and raw, I'm more of a do as I say, not as I do, because as an equipped lifter now, I get in my shirt maybe once or twice before meet, and then I just hope for the best. The reason why I have to do that is I live in a smaller town now. Like I moved from the big city a couple years ago, so there's not really a powerlifting crew here, and I'm at the point where I have to be very needy. Like I need 4 people to help spot and load. Like everything has to be between 8 and 850 these days. So like it's fun to play with that weight, but I need to like drive up to Calgary, which is a couple hours away, and organize with some of the boys up there to help me. And they're all great up there. Like shout out Arshia and Brian and Zaid. Like all those boys keep me safe. So my equipped training nowadays is more just trying to find an opener, get close to a touch in training, and then go. Especially as I advance, now that I'm in the super heavyweight class, my shirt is way tighter than what I was dealing with when I was like 120 and 105. So for me to even be able to touch anything, it's basically like my max, which is around that 360, 370 range. So I don't really like do a lot of like equipped training per se. I think within the context of my raw training, since I'm a strong raw presser, most of my training is above 500. So the absolute weight gap is not that much of a difference between like 520 and like 800, like as opposed to like if you're like a mid fours benchers, but you're a technical master in the shirt, and then you're getting way more. So like your gap is wider. But since I'm able to get exposed to 500 plus every week, the shift from just jumping in the shirt, I don't really have that much of a shock. So I'm able to kind of maintain that. But like having said all of that as well, I spent 10 years in my shirt every single week. So I did a decade of equip training long before Raw and even during Raw. Every week I was in kit for a very, very long time. So I'm very confident in my technique. So now it's just kind of shaking off the rust and then hopping in the meat. Now, of course, if I did more equipped bench training, I'm sure my bench would continue to grow a little further. But right now, again, like my goal is raw, and I know if I want to prioritize equipped, then my raw probably won't grow as much as I would like it to, or I'd maybe stuck in a maintenance portion of the training. And at this point, and like kind of my view on equipped bench in general, I think the higher your raw baseline is anyway, then just the better you're going to perform in equipment, whether that's refining your technique or just putting more weight on the bar. Like the stronger you are raw, the easier equipped is always. So in my own training and how I train my athletes, I always try to get them as strong as I can possibly and boost their raw numbers before they get into kit, because then kit becomes so much easier. Like if you put 15 kilos on your best triple raw, now your singles are going to be in kit are going to be so much easier because that top end has elevated. Yeah, but yeah, so equipped, my personal equipped training is just 3 weeks out, I'll try to get to a one board. 2 weeks out, I'll get to a float. If I can touch, great. If I can't, that's fine. And then I just kind of hope for the best at the meet. Like I'm finding with the tightness of my shirt, it's really hard to get a clean press in training without like being like ultra fatigued after and crushed. Of course, you can build a tolerance for that if you are exposed weekly or every second week, which is usually like a proper routine. But just with my life and schedule, I have to kind of just hop in it and swing for the fences kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and Josh Bryant, man, you can't learn from anyone better, to be completely honest. He himself has an immaculate bench press. If you go on YouTube and look at some of his old training footage, I mean, the dude was also jacked. He was huge, tons of muscle mass. I mean, the guy still looks great. His functional strength as well is through the roof. So this Jailhouse Strong is a wealth of freaking knowledge and content. But I want to take the viewers and put them in your shoes, because it's one thing to have a giant total or a giant bench press in your own backyard. It's another thing to go overseas, deal with all the variables that come with travel alone, and perform at the top level. So, how did you deal with some of those variables, being able to travel overseas and still perform at that medalist level?
I think one of the biggest variables is now that I'm in the fat class, I don't have to cut weight or worry about food. So when I was like in weight classes, 120s and 105s kind of thing, you had to be a little more locked in with your nutrition. But now that I'm able to just kind of eat what I want and stay as big as I want during the whole traveling process, it makes my performances so much better. But like in general, like I am hyper obsessed with execution and performance, and I mean IPF is great. IPF has problems, but the reality is IPF is super strict. So I train to the strictest standards, and I give my athletes the same expectations. Sometimes they like it, sometimes they don't. But no, like I personally really try to make every bench I do in training to be comp perfect. So then there will be no discrepancy. So then I know if I do a good bench in training, then that load is gonna carry over directly into the competition. And also, I'm a Category 1 IPF referee. So I am an international referee. I've refereed at many worlds, many world records, so I know exactly what they're looking for, and I know exactly how they're going to take it away from you. I know that there's no more benefit of the doubt, and I know that you have to give them no reason to give you a red light. So I always keep that kind of mindset in the back of my mind while I'm training at home, because I never want to lose a lift on a technical BS call. Like I'd rather just get stapled by it because I wasn't strong enough than some little thing that I could have easily corrected if I was a little more honest with myself. Like I had some of those issues with my raw bench at Worlds in Norway in May. My first attempt, they gave me 2 reds for elbow depth, and then my coach and we argued the jury, and it was overturned. But like stuff like that was super frustrating. I mean, that whole rule is stupid, but I do set a very high standard so I can. It just gives my self confidence knowing that whatever I can do in my basement, which is where I train mostly, I know I'll be able to do it on the platform, and just keeping that high standard with myself. And also I should mention that like I grew up in clubs. So in Medicine Hat, I was a part of a Medicine Hat powerlifting club. In the University of Alberta, it was the University of Alberta Powerlifting Association, and then there was another like Evolve club I was working with. So I've always been around people that are way stronger than me and don't take shit. So it's good to like be around people that are going to call on you. Like if you say, oh, like that squat was all right, and then you have like 2 guys and like 2 platforms away saying you're high. And it's like, well, I mean, that's good. Like you want that. You want the honesty. So always being around people that are like better than you definitely helps keep you honest. And like as I trained and progressed through my powerlifting career, I had a lot of people that like kept me honest. And it's also just cool to be around people that are way stronger than you. Like nothing's more motivating than see like the guy beside you repping out like 700 pounds while you're struggling with like 300 pounds.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, for sure, man. Absolutely. I think that's very important too, both for your mentality and just like your wanting to compete. You know, like you look at Westside Barbell, and those guys were always just chomping at the bit to take each other out, you know, in the sense of just wanting to do better than the other person. Every day turned into a competition with cash in the chalkboard, as they would say. So, you know, and I feel like that helps a lot. And speaking of like strategy and mentality, did you approach something like a nationals different than you approached a world as far as your like mentality or strategically?
Yes. So um, about I've been very, very competitive at the national level for a very long time, and there were like chunks of years where I would either be going against nobody because the equipped bench scene in Canada was very small. It's growing a lot now, which is great. But like when I was kind of like gritting my teeth throughout my earlier career. It was a lot of it was kind of token, so I was basically just swinging for records at nationals. If I get them, I don't. But there wasn't too much stakes. Now, like say that the last 3 years, every nationals is a dogfight. Like I won my best lifter classic bench by like zero point 0.1 GL point last year, and then I got cooked by Garrett and Equipped. So like it's much more competitive now. But prior to that, it was basically just kind of punching your ticket. Like usually the bench world teams would never be full, so you'd always have a good chance of getting on the team. So having that in your mindset, like it doesn't really like jazz me up to want to give a shit or or be as invested. And our nationals is in February, and then our worlds is in May. So that training is kind of short. So sometimes it's like, well, we're not going to like have a hard peak for nationals, but we're going to still like acclimate as much as we can. But then like the real heavy push will be the like 10, 11 weeks after nationals to worlds. And nationals to me, like I do a ton of coaching and a ton of refereeing. So my mindset really isn't that focused on my own lifting. I'm spending most of my time with my athletes, or my team Team Canada athletes, or I'm refereeing. So it's nationals is more like a holistic event for me, and I appreciate it. Like I like all the hats I get to wear, all the experiences I get to do. So lifting at that level is just more kind of like fun. Now, having said that, now like again, the Canadian bench scene has exploded, so there is no easy rides now. Like it's like the nationals we're gonna have in March. Like I have to give a genuine shit and try really fucking hard. Now, hopefully my outcome is positive, but like sport is sport. But in terms of like worlds, my mind shifts like succinctly, because at worlds I'm just lifting, so I'm not coaching, I'm not refereeing, I'm there to try to win. And how I do that is I research everyone that's in my top 5 radar. So I got all their Instagrams, even if it's in like some translation that I don't understand. I will find your training lifts and I will look at them and judge you. So that definitely kind of keeps me motivated. There's a couple guys on the raw side. I mean, the guy that keeps beating me, the American with the insane like 625 press or something. He's just incredible. He's also a jailhouse guy. So like there's some camaraderie there. And then there's a German guy that we've been going back and forth with for the last few years for like fighting for second and third, Marcus. He just did Europeans last week. So it like having some like direct competition with like-minded people. I mean, we're all obsessed with bench. Like you don't get to that level just participating. So it's fun to share the obsession of bench with a bunch of people from all over the world. And it definitely kind of fires me up because I do want to stand on the top of the podium of that classic raw bench one day. Now, I mean, will it happen? Who knows? I mean, I'm still 15 kilos shy of swinging for that, but it's definitely on my mind.
Yeah. Yeah, and already being a medalist, I mean, a multi-time medalist nonetheless, is just crazy in itself. Now, one of the things that creates controversy wherever you go, it doesn't matter the sport, is doping, right? It doesn't matter which sport you're in, doping is always a stain on a lot of different sports depending on how you look at it. What's your current take of the role that the IPF has with anti-doping? Is this a system that you trust? Is this a system that you've seen a lot of flaws in? What's your take on it as a competitor?
Okay. Well, I was the Canadian president for about 4 years, so I dealt with our CSIS or our WADA for several years. I find that the process of getting your blood tests or getting your urine taken is excellent and fair and very, very reasonable and trustworthy. So I believe that the process of anti-doping is working, but I think the reality is we're not in a drug-free sport. We're in a drug-tested sport, and I think IPF is doing the best job. There's the argument that USAPL had more tests, but then the tests that they performed, there were many discrepancies and issues just with process. So I don't think that the number of tests is really a good indicator for the effectiveness of an anti-doping program, especially with I mean, this is just my opinion, but I don't think we need to test a certain amount of people just to hit a quota. Like if we're going to test 50 ninth place finishers, what does that do? We should test the top three, which IPF is not doing. Granted, years ago the IPF did test like the world champions and anytime you broke a world record, but they since moved on from that policy. I don't know why. I mean, that sucks. I think that's the best way to solidify IPF's legitimacy as a drug-free organization is drug test, mandatory drug test, all world champions and all world records. Like that should be a no-brainer. I understand the cost is very high. Like I know in Canada, if we do one out of meat test, when I was president at the time, I imagine the prices are higher now, but it was like $2,500. So for a member-funded organization, you do the math. You're trying to test 100 people. Shit, we're almost at $250,000 right now, and then lots of things have to be cut back. But in general, I think anti-doping is working fairly well. I've got screwed. Like in 2019, I won bronze. The guy that won gold, he tested positive like a couple weeks later after the meet, and the IPF let him keep the IPF medal. So that kind of sucked, knowing that like he was probably benefiting from his PED usage 2 weeks after. So like I personally kind of been screwed from cheaters or whatever. So. But that's sport. I mean, like that's just inherently sport. Even any sport with drug testing, like you're going to have people slip through the cracks or figure out ways to get through it. Like Icarus on Netflix, that's a pretty obvious indication that there is paid doping programs that work very well. And like we can pretend that's not a thing, but that's a thing. So for me, like I accept that I know that I'm probably up against people that are cheating. And I don't care. I mean, you do you. All the power to you. That's your moral burden that you're going to have to carry. I know that I'm following the rules, and I'm going to try as hard as I can to win within those rules. If other people are able to bend them a little more than me, I mean, so be it. But I think the doping program overall now is probably as good as it's ever been too. But of course, it's the money thing. Like, we just can't test enough people to hit those big numbers of testing pools. So we're kind of stuck to just kind of picking a few here and there.
Yeah, and it's hard because for other sports, you can kind of not justify it, but make the argument. Like if you're playing American football, right? It's like you're trying to get to the NFL. That's the only place you're going to make a lot of money. So like you're kind of backed into a corner a little bit with your own moral compass, whether or not you want to use. In powerlifting, it's the complete opposite. You have the WRPF, the USPA, ABS. You have a ton of places that you can use whatever the hell you want. The WBO, whatever you want is completely legal. So you have so many options, and all of these places, for the most part, at least in the States, are all like national. So you can you have the choice to go compete these places, and that for me is one of the places that I kind of draw the line in the sand. Like if you do this, you're a scumbag, because there are places where you can do that and be completely fine. But for you, with the anti-doping and stuff, was it a conscious choice of yours to be like, this is the path that I want to go? Or was it just something where you were like, I don't feel like I need this just yet?
Like when I started powerlifting, the guys that I was powerlifting with, they were already in like the IPF. So that was my only exposure to powerlifting for the first little bit. I didn't even know that there was much other variation. So I just kind of went in with the anti-doping. In general, I didn't want to take steroids because I don't know a lot about steroids. So I don't want to end up doing something that's going to potentially like screw my 50-year-old self over. And I'm a big believer that of the natural ceiling is a lot higher than people give it credit for. Like I think a lot of people don't need to get on juice. You just need to train hard for like 5 years. Like, I mean, the secret to where I am is 15 years of showing up. Like, that's kind of what it is. Like, steroids will kind of, push you a couple years ahead of people. But at the end of the day, like, this is a grind. Like, so you gotta want the grind. I like the grind. I like the monotony. I like the structure. I like seeing the 5 pounds extra on the week. So that already kind of motivates me enough. I don't really want to. Well, I don't want to cheat. First of all, like I honor the system. I've wore many hats, from administrators to coaches to athletes. Like I genuinely give a shit. So I would never want to disgrace the system that way. But it just never really was something that was around me. Like all the guys I lifted with for the last decade, we're all like hardcore, like natty, like your IPF, you don't take pets. So that's just kind of always been around. So I've never been too exposed to the other side kind of thing. But you're right. I think powerlifting is different in that sense because you have a you have lots of options and lots of options for international experience too in the untested and tested. So if you're gonna go in the IPF and you're gonna like cheat, like you're a double fool because you have plenty of options. So why? Like I understand the why. It's the prestige. Like yes, we can people can shit on the IPF all you want, but an IPF world champion, that's the top. Period. Like until I can be proven wrong. Like cash money meets are great. A big check of 50 grand once in a while is sick, but like a world champion is a world champion. Like you can't argue that. So like I understand that people would want to kind of sneak into the IPF so they can get that. But even the untested side, like it's growing. There's a lot more like big quality meets. The standards are improving. So like I think as the untested side improves themselves, then I think the less doping problems we're going to have in the IPF because the more prestigious a counter meet becomes, then the less interesting it'll be to like try to sneak into the IPF. Like again, rising tide brings like I love powerlifting, I love untested, I love like tested. Like I want to see big weights, so I like we should all try to be better in whatever fashion that is. Like like I'm not a big fan of the deadlift bar, but I mean seeing a G move is still fucking pretty sick. So
I completely agree. Yeah, and I mean, I grew up on when I got into powerlifting, everyone was untested. It was like Dan Green and Stan Efferding and Pete
oh
Rubish,
yeah.
who like Pete's been my coach since like 2021. I love the guy, great dude. So I have no problem at all with PEDs. It's just make that distinction, where you're gonna go because you have outlets, right? I mean, you definitely have outlets. But you said something earlier also that was interesting. You said you feel like at least around the Canadian area that single ply is growing. What do you attribute to that?
Um, I think with the advent of Raw getting more and more incredibly competitive, that I think then you're seeing the like fifth to second place people start to kind of turn an eye to Equipped as a way to get to like the IPF Worlds basically. So I think a little bit of just the the piling up of like you can be genetically gifted and have that like 480 ish dots, but then you got three guys that are doing like 520 dots, and then you're done. So you're never going to be able to get. You may not be able to ever get to that level. So equipped kind of opens a door to have a bunch more opportunities to compete internationally and experience the sport differently. I think that I also like I attribute to um, Garrett's doing a lot of promotion with Equipped in Ontario. Like I try to talk about Equipped as much as I possibly can. Brace Krawchuk with the Calgary Barbell, he did a ton of Equipped content, and that exploded the sport here. So I think just like some of the uh, stronger athletes that are able to put up big Equipped numbers at our nationals really shows other people like, oh shit, this is sweet. Because like sometimes at a local meet at an Equipped lifter, you may see like like a 500-pound squat in a suit, and you're like, well, like there's five other juniors doing that. Like this isn't like cool. But then you go to nationals and you see like Zaid doing like 900, or me and Garrett like going over 800 in the press. Like I think that kind of shifts people's minds to be like, holy shit, like this is sweet, and there are people doing this in Canada. So there's a little more community to kind of help get people started. Like again, if anyone has any Equipped questions, please DM me. I love to talk about it. And Garrett is the same. So there's a lot of there's a few of us that are kind of have advanced to a higher level where we get a little more attention. So I think that's kind of generating it. Um, and I think just the expanse of powerlifting in general, like our membership base, I think we're like 4,400, which is huge for Canadian powerlifting. Like when I started, the CPU was 500 people. I mean, that was 15 years ago, but like the context is we're growing and we're continuing to grow year over year. So I think just the wider pool of people, then the more options we have of kind of bringing people into Equipped. Um, and I think Equipped at the IPF level is getting just a little more recognition. I think we're seeing like convincingly deep quality squats, good lockouts in the deadlifts, like decent ROMs in the bench. And I think that's kind of showing people a little more that equipped is awesome and that it's not just like the gear doing the work, or like you get like the real sketchy super high multiply squats. And it's like, I'm all for multiply, but like, come on, like you gotta hit depth at least. Like, what are we doing here? But so I think that's kind of shifting the window because we're not really exposed to multiply as much as we were in the 90s and early 2000s. Now it's like the only equipped you really see these days is either like cold blasting something crazy or like IPF reels and stuff, which I think is which is good. I mean, the more we can kind of shift the equipped view on the IPF side, just because I think the standard is much better and more synonymous and easier to digest, then I think we're going to generate more people in equipped. Like I saw a Reddit thread a couple of weeks ago, like Hamburger Train, I don't know his real name, but he did like a little thing showing that the numbers of equipped lifters is the biggest it's ever been right now. So even though we're much smaller compared to Raw, we are still growing at a like fairly consistent rate, which is a big win overall. Like equipped is always going to be a niche sport. We're a niche sport in a niche sport in a niche industry. So like we're so far buried. Like I don't expect it to ever like grow exponentially, but it is good to see some new faces around and some people with some lofty goals, and that's really cool to like see, especially on the bench team, like Charlie and John from Quebec. They're like two solid benchers that are going to be putting up huge numbers in the next couple of years, and they're all like in it. Like we have a little group chat together with me and Garrett as well, so it's good to like kind of like push each other and share videos and stuff. So I think I think in general, this is definitely biased, is the equipped community is just better than the raw community. Like the raw community is just, it seems like it's just about likes and I need to have my rack and we can't share. Like everything has to be a certain way. I need like a little carpet on the deadlift platform or my clean singlet or whatever the kids are doing. I know I'm showing my age here as a boomer, but equipped kind of forces you to be a community. Like you can't, like I can't go to the gym with my bencher and just do it alone. Like you need to kind of build that community and the friendship, and I think that really that growth and community fosters people to stick around longer. So the more invested you are with your training partners or your equipment, then the longer you are going to be in the sport, and the more likely you are to kind of like push through the equipment. Because I mean, again, equipped hurts, so it's a tough sell to pull people into the sport because that pain never goes away. Your mindset just kind of calluses through the pain, and then you get to experience the elation of like that sweet PR. But like selling someone to be, hey, you're going to be in pain for 45 minutes once a week forever. Come join us. It'll be sweet. It's like, I understand why equipped will always kind of be like small, but I think that's a good thing too. Like, because you have to have a certain mindset to get into equipped, and as someone that has that mindset and is probably a little stubborn and a little, little off, it's good to share, the community with other people that are a little weird and a little off. So, yeah.
Yeah, and my first time in a shirt was real recent, dude. Probably like 3 weeks ago, probably not even a month ago. And I remember messaging my buddy, and I was like, I don't know if I'm ever going to go back, at least not in the immediate future. Like, man, it's just so much fun. And the next day, just my face, dude, just broken blood vessels everywhere, man.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone's like, what the fuck's wrong with your face? I got bruises everywhere, man. But I'm like, this is awesome. This is fucking sick. Like, because for me, one of my big goals was I wanted to hit like anything above 405 on the bench. Natty. And so for me, it was like, that was a big goal. And I hit that. And it was like, okay, now I want to try this. And man, I'm not a huge fan of the squat suit or the deadlift suit personally. I'm a meathead, dude. I freaking love the bench press. So for me, it was even being in poly. People like, really? Like, you like being in poly? I'm like, dude, it's fucking awesome. Like, I love it, man. But what do you think about the introduction of something like the band shirt? Do you think it's a net positive for the equipped community, or do you think that we're going too far away from what equipped was founded on?
I don't like it because it's, to me, it feels like we're reducing what it takes to be 1,000 pound bencher or 900 pound bencher or 800 pound bencher. If I can put on an infinite ply suit and my raw is like 350 pounds and I'm doing a G, I mean, it's hard to do that. Like I accept that it's still 1,000 pounds in your hands. It's still a lot of work to get there. But to me, it's like, well, it's like a deadlift bar. We're just making things as easy as possible to get to the next level. It's like, let's just get to that next level because we're capable of getting to that next level. Let's not just add more like assistance. So I don't. I'm an IPF elitist when it comes down to it. Like single ply is the best ply. It gives you enough, and it requires you like a high degree of skill to execute properly. So like overall, like the unlimited stuff, I think has expanded equipped in general, which is always good to bring more people in. But as someone that's taken 15 years to press 800, and then seeing someone like slap on like some F8 like infinite layers suit do that for reps in the training hall, it's like, wow, like fuck. Like, so I'm a little torn, but like if you're gonna do all that F8 stuff, then it's got to be over 1,100. Like you need like make it crazy weight so you can justify putting it on. But if you're yeah, so
Yeah.
I think it's all right, but I'd prefer just to stick with like single ply.
Yeah.
Or standardize it. Like I know that's never going to happen, but like all the different options, especially in equipped, it gets really muddy when you're trying to like compare yourself to other people, or even explain to like your girlfriend or your parents or your friend of like, well, I know I bench 1,000 pounds, but I really only bench like 450. But if I could bench 6 in this shirt, and it's like like now you're confusing everyone, which is powerlifting is already boring and confusing. We don't need it to be any any more than those things.
I completely agree, man. I share the same sentiment. Like, there's a part of me, it's the angel and the devil on the shoulder. Like, there's a part of me that loves it, you know, because when you do get people like Jimmy Kolb or Tony Carlino that are elite at everything, it's like you can kind of justify it a little bit more. Then when you
Totally.
have someone who you put them in a band shirt and now they're hitting numbers that are just so astronomically more than whether they would do single ply or raw, it's like, what are we doing here, man? Like, is it really a thing? Because also the from what I've talked about with Carlino, you know, saying that it's not the mastery, like the learning curve is a lot different in the band shirt, and I don't want to use the word easier, but I'm going to, is
It's
easier
easier.
than something that of a poly, right? So
Yes.
and that's part of the beauty of a heavy single ply bench press to standard, is that there is so much technical precision that goes into that. You can appreciate the mastery of the craft, and I don't feel like you get that with the band shirts.
I agree. You hit the nail on the head right there. Totally. I
Yeah.
think it's all about mastery, because I know for me and my competitors, I know how long and how fucking hard it is to get to that 800 plus. Like you're sacrificing your basically your 20s and 30s to get there. So then, so appreciating like the work and degree of execution required, I think paired with the weight itself makes the feet cool. Like if you can touch right away, and the shirt's not hard, your head's not exploding, you know the shirt's gonna like do a lot of the like, support you through most of it, then like, but yeah, I don't know. In the end, like 1,000 pounds is 1,000 pounds. Like
Yep.
if you roll up and you bench 1,000 pounds, like deep down I'm envious. Like I'd love to fucking do that,
Yeah.
but like it's just not like it's not something I would chase with all the unlimited kit and all the asterisks attached to those records.
Yeah. Yeah, and I thought something when I was browsing your Instagram, I found something that was interesting. So for people that aren't following your Instagram account right now, you have a post on there talking about a soft board. And in the place of a board, you were using a knee wrap, which I thought was super innovative. So give me your thought process behind that and inform the viewers why you should use a soft board or what the benefits are of that.
Sure. So basically, what a softboard is you either like wrap a knee wrap or a wrist wrap around the middle of the bar, and then that creates the distance that a board would have created. The reason why I like the soft board is because since it's squishy, when you bringing the bar down to your chest, you have to maintain as much tension as you would if you were bringing it to your chest, as opposed to a wooden board where you're able to kind of rest the bar on the board and use it kind of as a like platform to push against, especially with the width of a board. So you're getting a lot of surface area that's supporting the barbell a hard surface that you can push against. So you're going to always have an either inflated load on your boards, or your technique is going to change slightly, where then when you go back to your like touching pressing, you're not going to have as much carryover because you're creating like a dysfunctional press with the boards to just move more weight. This idea is not my own. Like I'd say it probably almost came from like Ray and Ryan from Saskatchewan, because they were a big fan of like knee wraps as the boards, and I kind of just adopted that myself. And it also like it reduces the need of having someone help you hold the board, and it maintains a more consistent touch, because sometimes with the board, if you're doing reps, the board may push the barbell like up and down along the board, so then your range of motion and your rep is going to change slightly from rep to rep, which is not what you want. You want to be as consistent and repeatable as possible. So the soft board kind of allows you to bring the bar in the direction of where you would touch regardless, and the softness allows a little bit of compression, so then the board kind of sinks, requiring you to keep as much tension as possible while also using a little bit of a heavier load. So I'm a big fan of that. Like I don't use boards too much in training, but I find the soft board to kind of be a good bridge of getting that overload while still maintaining the correct position throughout.
Yeah, that's a really interesting concept that I'd never even freaking thought of before. And I'm like, damn, I gotta give that a try. But also on your Instagram, man, freaking repping over 500 pounds on the bench for like doubles. I mean, this is crazy weight, man. So, but I also noticed something interesting is that you don't sink. You do a very soft touch, even in raw. Was that something that came over from the equip stuff, or is that just something you've always done? And why do you prefer that over a sink?
It came from equipped, because again, I started in equipped, so I couldn't really like sink to begin with. But when I first started competing, I would get called for heaving all the time, which means like when you bring the bar down, you get the press command, then you bring it down again and then up. I would get dinged with that just because I was a sloppy presser early on. So that has always ingrained in my mind to be as like rock solid on the chest as possible. And then as I progressed as like an athlete and coach, like my opinion of the soft touch is, I think it's the way to go, especially as a bigger guy. The bigger you are, you tend to see people kind of squish the press into their body and then kind of use their meat to kind of propel it forward. I'm not a fan of that, in the sense that if we're going to compete in the IPF, if you bring the bar and like smush it into your chest, you're probably going to get a longer press command because they're not going to be able to see it motionless, especially with the squish. If you're not actually tight and you're just bringing the bar into your squish, then there's not going to be a tight end range. It's going to progressively kind of sink always. So if the ref is watching, your press command is going to be a lot longer. Plus, why would I want to add 2 inches of range of motion to my bench? I want the shortest, most legal rep in bench press. So when I have a squish press, then I'm adding at least an inch to my ROM in the most inefficient position. Like getting it off the chest is the hardest part. So if I'm adding like distance in that range, then I don't think it's going to be as effective. Of course, we're seeing today those like slingshot press kind of things where they bring it down and then they really like heave it forward. That seems to be working pretty well with everyone. And like, be well, best of luck. But I it's just not something I would I train my athletes or I believe is the way forward. Like you want the least amount of range of motion and the most tension. So I can't get both of those if I have a sink. If I'm able to kind of kiss my chest or touch the chest, I'm limiting as much range of motion as possible, and I'm as tight as possible. Like when I'm bringing the bar down to my chest and I'm holding it tightly, once I get the press command or I start pressing, I get a much quicker snap than if I'm going to squish. Because if I'm going to squish, sometimes your shoulders are going to kind of roll a bit. So then you're going to have to kind of like correct and get underneath it. And then you're adding another layer of technicality, which, again, you can master. But adding another variable is not something that I'm a fan of. I try to reduce as much movement as possible. And further, I think that squish press in the IPF anyway is probably going to disappear in the next year or so, as it seems like I've been watching Junior Worlds and then Classic Worlds, and they're starting to call that squish press as a heave. because it changes the starting position of the press. Now, like that's not like an official thing, but I've had heard grumbling. So to prevent myself to switch technique anyway, like I'll stick to the soft press. But I think soft press is good. Like, well, first of all, for equipped, you have to soft press, and equipped teaches you exactly how to hold and kiss that press perfectly. So having that skill in the shirt and then having it carry over raw, I think it would make more sense from an equipped lifter when they do raw with the soft touch, because they have the experience. So maybe if you're just a raw guy, it may not make as much sense because you haven't been exposed to that side. But yeah, mainly it's just range of motion. Like I spend a lot of time mashing my technique to get the least amount of range of motion as possible as a big guy, and I just don't see a lot of value with adding an inch to my chest because of a squish press.
Yeah, and that's man, I never even looked at it that way, dude. Like that's crazy because you are adding ROM. Like you completely are adding like even if it's minuscule, you're still adding ROM. And why would you want to do man, I never even freaking and this is why I talk to the freaking pros, man, to the medalists, to the people that are fucking at the top of the game because I learn something every time. Speaking of that, speaking of tools, like we were talking about boards and whatnot, are you utilizing for your raw training? Are you utilizing anything like a slingshot or a Titan Ram or anything to that effect?
I dislike those. I never recommend my athletes to use them, and I don't use them. If we're gonna go back to like equipped single ply is a high degree of technicality. If you're using a ram or a slingshot, that's gonna change your elbow position. It's gonna make the rep just a little different. So now you're adding a skill set of your slingshot, a skill set of your raw, and a skill set of your single ply equipped. So I just would remove that additional skill to acquire and just focus on other accessories like bands. Bands is great. Spotto presses are exceptional for raw, for equipped. Like everyone should be doing pause spotto at least sometimes throughout your training. So you can find a lot of ways to elicit that growth that you are searching for with the slingshot in other ways. Again, it's like you do soft boards, but just banded, change, like full ROM stuff without the assistance at the bottom. Because that's another thing. Like the hardest part of a raw press is the chest. So if I'm doing slingshot work, yes, maybe the plan and the program would be to build your overload, but you're just weakening that chest skill. So the more reps I do in a slingshot, and the more my body gets adapted to that expectation that, oh, I'm going to have like this acceleration off my chest, and then you go to raw again, then that mindset or that training file may carry over and then cause some dysfunction in your raw rep. Yeah, it's just, but mainly it's the elbow position. Like it forces your elbows to tuck a little different, and it pulls you in. So the shirt doesn't pull you in. So now you're you're fighting against it in a different manner. This is all very, very subtle, but it's subtle enough where like at my level, in my experience, like 1%, like that's fourth place or gold. So like all this tiny stuff is what swims in my head because it becomes super important the longer you are. So I'm not a big fan of it. Like if you're injured, it's a great tool. Maybe like you could use it for like a bridge week. So you do 1 week of shirted bench, and then the next week of slingshot, then the next week of a shirted bench to give your CNS a little bit of a break if you want to use it that way. But I'm just not a fan. I don't see too much of the value because it kind of bleeds into the F8 multiply stuff. Now these slingshots are like quad ply, and you can do fucking 600 pounds for sets of 10. It's like there's value there, yes, but like let's just get your body as strong as possible without anything, and then when I put you in gear, when you get in gear, you are going to excel so much better because now you're just stronger. Just being strong is always the solution. So rather than like adding asterisks and layers to it, let's just get you as strong as possible and then refine your technique. Like there's not a whole lot of like training sets or variations in kit. Like it's really just let's just master you touching a press. Like we don't, like board work again is great. I've done a lot of ego board days where I'm doing like 390 or like 880 and stuff like that, and it's fun as hell. But like I know that, I mean, this is I'm not gonna fucking touch and press this shit. Like it's cool, but like the carryover kind of becomes a little limited in some sense. So yeah,
Yeah, it looks cool on Instagram, right? That's that's about what you get out of it.
yeah.
And as far as someone that wants to get into single ply shirts, I've seen that you've worn the katana a lot, and I see that as a recurring theme because I watch the IPF equipped. I watch all the single ply stuff, try to keep up on it, and I see just, I mean, there's a massive amount of Titan gear, and I notice it because sometimes when someone will wear like a Rage X or something like that, I'm like, oh, look at that, like there is another shirt. So for you, someone getting into single ply, what would you recommend as far as bench shirts go? What has been your favorite and why?
So I've used pretty much every bench shirt the IPF allowed. Rage X sucks. The metal stuff, not that good. I mean, the Super Katana is a shirt you kind of want to get into, but you can't like jump into it. You have to graduate to it. So I would say for your question is an F6 Titan is the best like intro shirt. So not only the collar is a little thinner, so it gives you a lot more maneuverability and access to like bring the collar or bring adjust the chest plate around, and you're not getting a ton of resistance that like the Super K low cut would give you, so you're not gonna get bullied around in the shirt. And that shirt, the arm placement is built for an arched bencher, and everyone is an arched bencher at this point. You may not be a crazy gymnast 63 kilo arched bencher, but you're going to have some sort of an arch. So that F6 kind of compensates for that style of bench pressing, and it's enough shirt to grow you into like a big press, but it's not going to bully you around initially. So I would say the F6. Like again, I always refer to like Blaine benched like almost 9 in an F6. Then I remember when Natalie Hansen was still around in the IPF, she used an F6 and she was doing over 4. So like you can get real like world class presses from an F6, but it's also a very like beginner friendly shirt because you can just move around with it and you're not going to get pushed around. Like the groove is much bigger because the collar's thinner, the collar's higher. So it just allows a little more air to occur throughout the reps and training, and you're not going to get too like chewed up or frustrated kind of thing. So the F6 is great. And then after that, katana, and then once you kind of master the katana, just jump to the Super K low cut. Like you don't need to slowly graduate up. Like the low cut collar is the hardest thing to adapt to. That's just all that extra pressure to get to the touch. But after you've acclimated to the F6, then that skill will have already been attained, and then it'll be much easier to kind of build your skill in the low cut. But yeah, the F6 is the way to go. I'm a big fan. Yeah.
Yeah, shout out to Blaine Sumner, man. A lot of people don't know, dude. Blaine Sumner is so sick, dude. He has so many incredible lifts, incredible feats. Probably the most impressive IPF American single ply lifter of all time, in my opinion, at least. I mean,
Oh,
the guy
100%,
is
100%.
he's
I mean, doing
immaculate, dude.
455 in single ply to IPF standard, like that's just insane. It doesn't make sense. Like no one is even remotely close to that now, nor will they ever be. Like
Yeah,
we've only had like I think like 400 kilo pressers in the IPF, and then Blaine is like a light year ahead of those guys, and like I
yeah,
mean 400 keys, like that's fucking
yeah.
that's it. Like you win the game. Like
It's
you've done
so
it all.
sick, dude. It's so sick. Yeah,
Yeah.
dude, the vanilla gorilla, man. What a fucking specimen.
Yeah.
So for there's a lot of talk about bench frequency. Josh Bryant was on with Mark Bell recently, and they were talking about it. And Josh Bryant said that his bread and butter has been 2 times a week, but he says he does have some athletes that are able to bench 3 times a week. For you, what bench frequency has worked best, and why do you think that is?
So early on, like 3 to 4 times frequency worked very well from my 90, so like my 200 pounds to like 260 pound body weight days. I find when I was lighter, I was able to recover a little better because I'm just not like fat. So your body just operates
Yeah.
better when you're lighter. So I was able to have more frequency, and of course my max wasn't as heavy. So as I like kind of eclipse the 500 max and enter like the 550, I've been down to twice a week bench days, and then my third bench day is just 2 sets of dumbbell press, just to kind of I guess keep the juices flowing midweek, and then prepare for the next one. So I do 2 days of bench now, which it makes sense. I think like once you kind of pass that 500 mark, the general gravity against your body, it's just at a point where even though you can push the weight, even though like it's just 80% or whatever, like, so you can move the weight over and over again, your bones, your ligaments just can't take it. Then you're gonna rack up some small injuries. And that's what happened to me over like a few years. Like I had my transverse ligament, and then I've a bunch of my rotators, just constantly tweaking. My pec was always sprained because I'd be able to move the weight well, but just because your muscles are ready to do the work doesn't mean your like whole body is. Especially like, so I've found the best to be twice a week of like real bench, and then maybe a third day of like two sets of light stuff just to kind of get the juices flowing. But yeah, the more the heavier your raw press becomes and the lower frequency you're going to have to be. It's just too much gravity at that point. Like you can't do 500 3 days a week, even if that's only like 80-ish percent. Like it's too much at that point. It'd be like doing, like if you're like a 900-pound puller, you can't pull 700 3 times a week, even though it's like objectively not a high percentage, but it's still objectively a shit ton of weight. So you kind of have to mold your perspective a little out of those like standard guidelines of programming once you kind of get to those higher weights, because some of those paradigms just don't work when you're dealing with like super maximal weights all the time. So yeah, I found the twice a week to kind of be the sweet spot, and mentally it's helped me a ton too. Now I only have to really focus twice a week, which is a lot better than like 3 4 times of like that hyper focus. Like okay, like technique's got to be good, my sleep's got to be good, I got to have a big lunch because otherwise like it's not going to move. And I've felt in my own experience that like if I have like a shitty sleep or I miss a meal, my bench top set is gonna go poorly just because the weight now that I'm using, like thankfully, is again like 530 to 560. So if I feel bad, it's just not going to move. And then the next day, I'll have a good sleep, and then it'll move very well. So like, it's much more finicky. Like the stronger you become, so that top end varies like much bigger. So then you kind of really have to make sure your fatigue is always at a right level. Otherwise, you're going to have kind of bad days. And Josh does a great job with that. Like the last few weeks that I've had some shitty days just because I've been traveling. I just haven't been in my own bed, haven't been eating and stuff like that. But overall, I think when you're in the super heavyweight class, probably twice a week is a good start to base your training from, and then you can maybe add a frequency. But if you're under 200 pounds, you could easily do 3 times a week, and that's probably a good stimulus for you to progress. I did 3 days a week again for 8 years, saw lots of progress. It was a good balance, and then once you kind of hit that next level, the next gear, then you kind of have to reduce uh, your frequency. I mean, you see that with like a lot of the big guys in wraps where they like squat like once every like 11 days and stuff like that, which again makes sense. Like you got 900 plus on your back, like you can make it fly, but again, now you're like your skeleton and bones are just going to be beat up and tired for a few days. So you have to like acclimate and adjust for that, even if you're already capable of moving the weight.
Yeah, and with being a drug-free lifter, you have some leverages that you can use, and one of those, especially for the bench press, is body weight, which is something that I noticed personally. So for me, it came from more of like a athletic background, pro wrestling and stuff like that. So I'm 5'6". I always hovered around like 170 pounds, 175. And I started competing at 181, then I went up to 198, and now I'm competing at the 220s. I'm like 215. And I had to accumulate a decent amount of mass and get freaking kind of fat here, to really bench what I wanted to bench.
Yeah.
So for you chasing this massive 600-pound bench press, do you have any aspirations of gaining weight to get that, or do you think you're going to hit it at the body weight you are now?
I've kind of just accepted that I'm gonna try with this body weight. When I gain like 2 to 5 pounds extra, my neck fat gets just big enough where breathing starts to get a little harder. Then I have to like roll out of bed and just like general life things. I just become like a giant slug. And like my day job is a sheriff, so I need to be active enough. I can't just be like a complete fat ass. So like I've accepted that I'm gonna stay around probably like 285 to 290 and then go from there. And like I'm confident that I'll be able to hit it. And I think a big part of that is just seeing other people lighter than me, especially in the last year, put up 600 presses. So it's changing my perspective of like, oh, only 300 plus pound guys can bench 600. It's like, no, like that's not the case anymore. Like drugs are not, humans are pressing 600 underneath the 300 mark. So that just kind of shifts my mindset of like, well, like if they can do it, then I can do it. Like I don't care if they're on pets or not. Like we're humans. We're trying hard. We're training. We're doing what's right. Like it can be done. Like just like changing that that perspective mentally has made a big difference, I think.
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting. Bringing up the sheriff, very interesting, a very admirable position, very stressful position. I assume. So, how did you get into that profession in the first place, man? What does your day to day look like as a sheriff?
Well, I do courts, so I just maintain the custody of the courtroom. So if someone gets convicted, then I bring them in, process them, and then take them to the jails. I got into the sheriff's about, I guess, 9 years. Like right after university, I graduated. I was looking for jobs. I couldn't really find anything, and then I applied to like a jail in town. Then I got hired. So I was a correctional officer for about 2 years. That job was very, very interesting. Changed my perspective on society for probably the worse, but I mean that's what it is when you're around criminals all day. And like how the correctional system works, you usually work closely with the sheriffs, and like the sheriffs in Canada operate like courthouses and transportation for prisoners and highway patrol. So speaking with them, and just I had a couple buddies that were sheriffs as well. I applied and then got in, and then I switched over to the sheriff. I like it. I think it's a great gig. Like it's very helpful in powerlifting because they're very generous with my time off. They understand what I do. And since I'm lucky enough to follow the court schedule, all the stats I get off, I get a little bit of time off in Christmas. So I'm able to do as like everything I can in powerlifting with the support of the sheriffs. But yeah, my day to day is just making sure people don't get out of hand in the courthouse, and then like taking them to and from jails or other specific facilities or institutions around the area. I like it. I think it's good. I think Canada could be a little more stricter with our bail laws, so then I don't have to keep seeing the same guys come and go. But I mean that's politics, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. In Washington State, man, down here it's wild. There's a lot of just slap on the wrist, and a lot of violent
Yeah.
offenders and stuff get out, which is very unfortunate. A lot of you have the potential to really make the community safe, but unfortunately down here it doesn't work like that. So, which is unfortunate. But I talked to Nick Forte in episode 12, amazing raw lifter, but he is a correctional officer, and he talked
yeah.
about some of the violence he would see in the prisons and stuff. And I was like, man, I can't imagine. I mean, just the toll on your psychological state, and then having to go to these meets and kind of call on that. And, it's definitely a delicate balance. But with your bench setup, with your 2 days a week, what do those 2 days a week look like? You doing like 70%, 65% one week? Are you working off something like that in like a max effort, or like a speed day and a max effort? How are you programming those 2 days?
So it's not so much like a speed and max effort. Like day one is I work up to a heavy triple, double, or single, and then I'll do 2 or 3 back off sets of a load fairly close to that top set. And then I'll do a bench accessory, which will be like a close grip version, or maybe it's a volume phase. So I'll just have a bunch of sets at like maybe 75%. But like how it's structured is I do a really, really high intensity top set between 88 and 95%. And then I do back downs to around like 80 to 84%. And then it's a bunch of like variations. So lots of close grip, JM press, Tate press, rolling tricep extensions. Lots of overhead press. I found overhead press to be kind of a secret weapon to improve your bench press. I think anyone that presses should be overhead pressing. Like, I don't care how weak your overhead press is, like you need to build your overhead press. It will make you such a better bench presser. So yeah, like I don't have a lot of comp bench volume these days. It's just a lot of like close grip variation, a lot of JM press, and then some boards and lots of banded stuff. But it's like through Josh's training, it's similar with the West Side where there's lots of variation and the variations are pushed very hard and you just get like small exposures to comp stuff. So uh, we've been working with that and that seems to be going well. Like usually I would have had like my day one would be my volume day, so I'd have my comp work plus like some boards, plus triceps, plus chest flies, then plus some lower or upper back work kind of thing. But since Josh has taken over the programming, it's more focused on accessory, which has kind of changed my perspective as a coach as well, because I never really valued accessories as much as I should have until working with him. But yeah, like it's, I mean, I could pull it up if you can give me a second
Yeah,
here.
absolutely. And it's crazy. It's like we're telepathically communicating here because I love the overhead press. I love it.
Oh
I
yeah,
don't
like
see enough of it. I mean, I dig it so much because I also love strongman, Olympic lifting, all that stuff. So I'm a junkie for any overhead press variations, man.
yeah, I think people have kind of neglected their overhead press because it's like, oh, it doesn't directly improve your bench. It's like you're right. Like if I put 10 pounds on my overhead press, I'm not going to automatically get 10 on my bench, but your shoulders are going to be so much stronger. So then when that press becomes a grind, when you have a holistically strong shoulder, you're going to be able to stay in that position way easier and you're going to be able to generate so much more force from your triceps because you have all the like your delts and your internals are that much stronger. Everyone should overhead press if you can. I mean, if you can't, then figure out a way to do a variation or a partial rep. Like overhead press is a exceptional accessory for a proper bench press.
Yep. Completely agree. 100%. Yeah, I love the overhead press. I love push press, log, dumbbell, doesn't matter. And just because, that the correlation may not equal causation, I think that you made a really important point there with like bulletproofing your shoulders essentially to stave off any potential injury.
Absolutely. Like I've been chewed up that there's been stints of several years where my pec would just be perpetually screwed up because I didn't like properly value what accessories and upper back and delts and shoulders, even forearm and grip work and how valuable that is just to keep healthy. Like again, overhead press is not going to break a plateau, but it's going to keep you healthy enough to break that plateau. So now that you're going to skip that injury or that overuse injury because your shoulders are strong enough now you can keep carrying on with that higher volume or that higher intensity bench program because you're capable of like fulfilling all the required reps without risk of injury. So it's an interesting kind of explanation to justify because again, like the end goal is always to increase your 1RM, and if it's not doing that, then it's not worth it in the program kind of thing. But overhead press doesn't necessarily do that, but being or having a stronger upper body is always going to help a lot, especially in bench press, because bench press is such a specific movement and a specific motion under lots of like support because you're laying down. So even though those muscles are getting lots of use, lots of other muscles are getting neglected like throughout. So you have to kind of remind yourself that like doing 3 sets of 15 of like T3 raises may be boring and pathetic, but like 6 months from now, when you grind out that big bench, that will have been the reason.
Yep. Yep. And you have your primary movers, but you also have the secondary supporting muscles, and that's really what, like you said, that 1% differential could make up between silver and gold at your level, right? I
Absolutely.
mean, you have to have you have to pull every single lever that you can to be the best, right?
I,
At the end of
I,
the
I
day.
agree. Again, you have to if you compare yourself to the best, when you're the best, like and you're at that level, your sleep is on point, your nutrition's on point, your training's on point, everything's on point. So everyone's at the same level as you are because they're all trying just as hard. So like if you can get that half percentage just a little better, then a half percentage at that level is miles ahead. So
Yeah.
like you really kind of seen that like everyone at that level is doing exactly what you're doing. So you have to figure out a way to kind of edge them because I mean everyone says like I'm gonna work, I'll work hard or I'll work through you or whatever. Like everyone's working hard. Like
Yeah.
that's not a flex. Like everyone is putting time in the gym. That's why they're at that level. So you have to
Yep.
find ways either in the gym or outside of the gym to make that like that next level happen. And again, small stuff like this is I spend a lot of time, especially with like tweaking shirts and like where to sew them, or like again the softboard stuff, frequencies, foot position, like even like referee position. Like depending where your referees are situated, you may be able to get away with some little loose stuff. Hell, even like how you wear your singlet. Like you can create kind of a diaper on the back of your singlet with where your ass is. So then if your ass floats, you'll have some loose fabric. Like there's lots of ways to maximize like that output, and at that level, like that's what you got to kind of fight for at that point. Because I mean, yeah, like your competitors are training just as hard. They got great coaches. Like there's no margin of error these days.
Yeah, and with the equipment, I think that's another dimension of it that's very interesting. Is if you fail, it's not necessarily a lapse in strength. It could be where your equipment was set. It could be the technical like proficiency in the equipment. But usually, most times, not all the time, but most times, if you fail to lift raw, it's just like you can just be like, "Well, I wasn't strong enough." That
Yeah.
sucks. But there's not much I can do about that besides go back to the drawing board and figure out what the hell I was doing wrong.
Yeah, that's like my favorite part about equipped is like I can get stapled on my second attempt, pull my collar down, pull my sleeves closer to my elbow, and then hit a 5 kilo PR in my third. Like that's just never going to happen raw. Like raw is it is what it is. Like come meet day. So that's another reason why I think equipped is so cool is you have real time ability to adjust to a successful position outside of just like your strength. So like now that we have like another modality to tweak come game day, it gives a higher sense of sport. Now there's more things to be juggling, that there's more excitement, that there's more pressure, and there's more skill required. So I think all of that kind of blends in and creates a good concoction of like an entertaining sport for athletes and for spectators. Like because I mean like powerlifting's boring to watch, but it's not as boring. Like I'd rather watch guys chase 800-pound presses than guys chase like 450, 500 presses. Like sure their GL points are better with the raw stuff, and it's like cool, but like seven reds is seven reds. Like it's it'll always be cooler.
Yeah, the optics of it are just freaking sick, man. And for the people that aren't following your Instagram, you have something called Smart Lifts. Explain to the people what Smart Lifts is and what you guys do.
So Smart Lifts is my coaching business. I've been running it for about 12 years now. So what I offer is online coaching in the traditional sense. In the past, I ran lots of meets. I don't run meets anymore where I live. And then I've organized like seminars over the years. So I had Ray Williams and Jen Thompson come over and speak years ago. But mainly Smart Lifts is just my powerlifting coaching business. I work with clients all over the world, and specific like I'm located in Canada, so the bulk of my work is here in Canada. But I'm available for coaching anywhere and everywhere. If you're a equip lifter, especially hit me up. I'd love to work with you. I like to keep equipped alive and share what I know. Yeah, and like sometimes on my Instagram, I don't post too much, but it's some of my lifts, reports of my athletes, and there'll be sometimes I'll speak on some stuff, but I'm not the best with editing and content right now. But again, if you have any questions about powerlifting, bench press, equipped, whatever, Smart Lifts on Instagram, happy to reach out and chat or yeah.
And why was that important to you? Giving back in the essence of coaching. What made you get into that field?
Well, like I always kind of like when I started powerlifting and the club I joined, if you're not competing, you're helping. So like from day one, I was already at the meet, slinging plates in the warm up room, helping like my training partners. So I did that for like 6 years, and then as I acclimated to the experience and developed and started writing my own training, then I kind of just expanded into sharing my bench programs with some of the buddies in the university gym. And then when they started getting stronger, I was like, oh, like something seems to be working. I want to kind of investigate this more, and then formally officially announced the business about 12 years ago, and then started coaching like more formally through like I love coaching. It is super rewarding. So like why I do is it's a very unique feeling being a part of someone's success outside of them, and I think it's a really cool thing to like share with another human. So it's just super cool to see someone like I know that they've had a hard couple months. Maybe they lost their job or they're working overtime or they have a kid or whatever. Like there's so much unknown variables or quiet variables that we don't see until they show up, and like having that in the back of my mind, seeing them execute so well with all their effort, it's such a rewarding sensation knowing that like you helped that person succeed. And there's no other feeling of like gratitude and like connection that you can experience. I think coaching or helping anyone is super cool. And in powerlifting, like I just love the sport. I love Equipped. I want Equipped to survive. I want it to keep going. So I want to spread my information and my support as much as I can. Again, especially starting in Equipped, you're wrapping knees, you're tweaking shirts, you're like putting straps up. So you're always engaged early on. So I had a lot of that experience to kind of like push me into coaching earlier. And a few of of the people I looked up to and worked with were also like coaches at the time, so I was able to kind of take some mentorship from them, which helped a lot. Like the coaching community in Canada is super good. Like everyone's friendly, everyone's helpful, and we're all here to again make our athletes perform as best as they can. So yeah, no, I love coaching. Coaching's fun, and there's also just no other feeling than like seeing someone like grind out that third deadlift to get that placing, and you have like all the hype in the warm-up room yelling in the back, and then everyone like in the stands getting all jazzed up, and we're all waiting for the lights, and then that moment happens and you're like, fuck yeah, like yes, like this is what we did it for. And like that feeling, like that feeling is super cool. Like winning and being on the podium is a fucking awesome feeling, but like seeing someone else's elation after like a hard training cycle is just something that's just so much more like just so much more rewarding. Like it's just so cool. Like I love to see like my athletes excel. It gets me jazzed up, and I'm sure they know that they hear me fucking screaming and yelling when they're lifting. And if they get two reds, I'm already at the jury yelling at the refs. So like it's fun all around.
Yeah, dude, it's fucking awesome to see people succeed, especially when you have that like close relationship, like a coach and a client, and you kind of know the background story, what they went through to get there. It's always awesome just to see the success of other people in the sport. Outside of the sport, man, what do you like to do, man? Is it all like hockey and Tim Hortons, man? Like, what are you doing up there, dude?
No, I like firearms and philosophy, so I read a lots of like philosophy. Right now, I'm working through Foucault. Like I found that to be just extra fascinating. And as a sheriff and as someone that's a proud firearm owner, I like to go to the range and enjoy putting some rounds down there. But yeah, like most of it is just like traveling with powerlifting and whatnot, and that's rewarding and exciting. Like again, having the opportunity to travel around the world is something I don't take for granted. But yeah, on the weekends after a heavy bench day, put a couple clips down the range and go for a pizza after. But yeah.
Awesome, dude. Yeah, that warms my American heart. There's a lot of,
Hell
of gun enthusiasts down here,
I
including
wish
me.
we had the Second Amendment here.
Oh man, I fucking love it. Hey, they're trying to take it away here in Washington. I'll tell you that much. It's fucking crazy down here, man.
Yep.
But the pendulum swings in weird ways, dude. Have you been to Washington? Have you ever been down here?
No, I've been to Idaho and Ohio, but I haven't been to Washington yet. Yeah.
Okay, so you've been to the better Washington then, because like Idaho is just like Washington, but like it has similar weather, a lot of that similar scenery and whatnot. Because Washington State is
like that
beautiful.
Midwest kind of vibe.
Yeah, it's freaking awesome. I loved Idaho when I was passing through there. But yeah, man, wrapping up here. Why don't you plug your social media, man? Where people can find you, get in contact with you, and explore some of your services, dude.
Perfect. So I'm on Instagram at SmartLifts, and then my website is smartlifts.info. We'll have all of my coaching information if you'd like to look into that. I also have a educational equipped course on reactive training systems. It's called Thriving in Single Ply. It's an 8-part video series where I cover everything from the history of equipped to how to get it on, how to tweak it, how to adjust it, some training stuff. So if you're interested in that course, it's on Reactive Training Systems, the Mike Truchere's business. He kind of hosts that. And if you, that's pretty much it. Yeah. I guess I have a YouTube channel. I don't really do much on YouTube. Again, it's Smart Lifts is on YouTube. I have a 45-minute video on bench press that I discussed, and then a couple other little clips. But it's fairly inactive. Again, YouTube is just content creation is so hard for me. But yeah, Smart Lifts on Instagram, and then smartlifts.info for the website.
So, dude, well, I can personally vouch for Shane's Instagram, especially, man. You gotta follow it. Very strong guy. Also, fellow metalhead, freaking gun enthusiast, freaking single ply. I mean, this dude, him and I just became friends on camera for the first time. So,
hell yeah, brother.
Yeah, man, awesome. Well, thanks for coming on, bro. I appreciate you, man.
Yeah, thanks for the time. Thanks for asking me. This was fun.
Of course, bro. All right, we'll talk soon, bro.
Take care.